Hey, hello out there. We're going to jump into our comic strip page illustration. We're still doing our pencil graphite work, and I'll be going in and adding in some more details, a couple little things that I may have forgotten to add in before, and to get to a good stopping point for this to start inking. Very close to the inking stage. But today is to go through, kind of clean up a bit, continue drawing a little, and then start preparing for inking. So I'll switch over to our cams here in just a couple of minutes. Hello there, welcome to my open studio. I'll be streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick today. No Instagram or X. I may just not include those for the time being for now. Just work with the top three. I'll be continuing illustrating the Mission Decontrol comic strip page, our single page that will be inked in black and white. I currently have everything drawn out, minus some bits of detail here and there that I'm going to be spending this morning through the afternoon on wrapping up on, and looking over it after yesterday's stream and seeing how things are looking so far. Let me get your view of it a little bit closer here, a little bit bigger. And our page here has been the focus of my streams for the past week and a half, 2 weeks. And going through this full page, full detail, lettering included, I put in more than several hours or a full day's worth of time onto this, so I need to get to a good stopping point. That way it's inked. That way this looks like, you know, this was done in a amount of time that equals roughly a day. When you break a day's work down into 1 hour, 1 to 2 hour chunks, those tend to stretch out a little bit longer, especially when you're streaming. So in all, it's been more than, you know, a day's worth. Streaming this event and drawing everything down on paper, it's been a lot of fun, and it does take a little bit of time, and that's sort of part of the frustration. So I'm here to kind of set the mood a little bit differently than yesterday, and I'd like to go through and focus on this page while you guys are hanging out. If you're lurking, or if you want to contribute to the chat, or just hang out, ask questions, you're more than welcome to. I do want to keep the topic specifically to what I'm doing, or to comics in general, if you'd like. But I do want to focus on this and not get too carried away with side conversations. You currently have some, I hate to tell you this, but you have a little bit of AI music playing in the background. I do use a loop of AI generated guitar riffs and metal riffs, just to sort of have in the background. I am listening to something different over on Spotify. I cannot play that, but because I'm streaming over on YouTube and, you know, Twitch and Kick and stuff, I cannot play that music publicly without copyright infringement. But I am going to share with you what I'm listening to, right? And I'm doing that by including my Spotify playhead over on, if you look below my picture, my face cam here, just down below, right here underneath my drawing table, you'll see what I'm listening to. So if you're interested in what I'm listening to while I'm doing art, that's it. That's my main jam. Unfortunately, what you're going to have to listen to actually through the stream is that generated music, just to have something in the background. I don't mind it. I do wish I could use real music, but I just don't have those resources at the moment. Specifically playing the things that I really want to listen to. Alright, I'm going to keep the metal flowing. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic and focus and start just pulling out and getting into the groove of things. If you would like to ask questions, or if you have any feedback, comments, criticisms, you're more than welcome to hit me up here in the chat. I'll do my best to pay attention and to answer any questions you may have. Anything else I need to go over? Nope, that's pretty much it. Let's get right to it. I'll chat a little bit, and I'm going to go over the comic book strip. So here's our story. Mission Decontrol. Decontrol is the name of our main character, who is a hardened half-life of a space industrialist in the 30th century. Imagine that. That's very far away, right? In time, well, and space. The story starts off with D-Control in the cockpit of his cargo ship. And he's saying to himself, taking a job in space means crap for compensation or cargo that ain't worth the wear and tear of my ship. How the hell did I get both? That's my dumb luck. The destination is what piques my interest, Golden Hill Station, where the big guys go to flex their creds. Ah, can't wipe the smile off this face. He feels like he's going to get rich by going to this station or completing his cargo hauling task to the station and luck out with some higher pay contracts. When all of a sudden, a warning light goes off and buzzers go off, and he shouts out, "Fuck!" His ship is warning him that he's being pulled out of hyperspace and his route is stopped. So he's frozen. His ship is frozen in place. And he's saying out loud, "Welcome to my humble home," said the spider to the fly. Because we get a view outside in the final panel of D-Control's cargo ship just floating in space and pirate ships surrounding him. The pirates have pulled him out of hyperspace and frozen him in place. "Cargo pilot, power down. Prepare to be boarded. Your ship is now our property." It's going to stop there as a cliffhanger. It's going to stop there as a cliffhanger to the next strip. The purpose of this is to create a black and white serialized story based off of my video game character D-Control in the game Star Citizen that I played. It's really the only video game I play. I play Mech Warrior sometimes, but Star Citizen is really all I've had time to play when I do have time to jump in and play. And that character is based off of what you see here in the strip. Very similar to that. We'll draw everything out with our India ink, our pens and quill pens. Our purpose is to create this in traditional work so that we have our original pages. What's cool about original artwork, instead of just jumping into digital or AI or anything like that, is that I have the original artwork, and that has some value to it. Alright, let's get in position and get situated. But when we get into our inking stage, I will be using black India ink, waterproof India ink, brushes, quill pens, technical pens, and liners, along with a multitude of other random tools and curves and edges to help me ink all this out. It might be messy, and I may make some mistakes along the way, but this is the page for me to do that with. That itself is going to take some time, and that's what I need to really look at, is that inking time. Now that I've gone through and made some adjustments to my page, how the internal mechanisms and displays, knobs and switches and controls for the ship look, how I draw those out versus how I did it before. One of the reasons why I'm still in this penciling stage is because I did draw out a lot of this, ended up changing most of it, because I haven't put many hours into planning out the inner workings. Some of that's just going to be background artwork, so I can sort of make that a little bit generic. I also want to make sure that, although not really unique, I want to make sure it's a little bit generic compared to my influence, being influenced by the video game. I don't want too much of a connection, because I don't want to, steal their ideas. Although you know, spaceships, space travel, living in the future are all part of the theme of science fiction. A little bit of pulp storytelling, some cyberpunk, and all that is what Mission Decontrol is all about. When I go into the next page, hopefully it's a lot easier and a lot quicker. One of the things I noticed waking up this morning and looking at my page is the detail on Decontrol ship. Decontrol ship is where I do try to push a little bit of uniqueness. And that uniqueness is sort of how silly it is. It's a comic book. I can do whatever I want. Let me ban this bot real quick over on Kick. Boop. Ban the bot. Ban the bot. Okay. Anyways. There we go. Done. Alright, now where was I? Oh, the ship. Decontrol flies... Well, you're going to have to sit down for this, but Decontrol flies a train for a ship. How this happened was originally this vehicle, which was a train used in inner cities to, of course, transport cargo and materials for construction and building, maybe merchandise, stuff like that, maybe goods, maybe money, maybe gold. You can transport anything, right? Junk to riches. But at some point, this train was modified to be space-worthy. Why? I'm not going to get into that. It's a super sort of maybe a little bit of too much drinking, too many crazy ideas, not on my end, but for the character. I've imagined this character, or even people that this character knows, helped build this space vehicle, this space-worthy vehicle, for him to use to haul cargo. I think somehow he found it gave him an advantage over other cargo haulers. So thus, he has a vehicle that's a little bit unique. It's silly. I think in a way it's sort of dumb, but I think it sort of makes sense in a way, right? Or maybe it made sense to the character. Let's see if we can have some fun with it. Worst case scenario is it's a horrible, horrible idea, and I have to scrap that idea after I've drawn a couple of pages. All I have to do is create a story device where gets rid of the ship and he ends up with a new ship, right? It's that simple. So let's play around with this original idea and see what happens. When I look back at the original concept drawing that I did, I'm going to get rid of... I'm going to hide this one. This reference. I'm going to go to this reference. And sorry, I don't have my keyboard close. I have to reach over here. Drag this out. There we go. I'll do the same thing over here for the vertical viewers. Oh, I need to be recording. Just realized I was not recording. Oi. That whole introduction not recorded. Okay. But at least it's on the stream. So if you see here my reference that I'm using, that's in the lower left or in the upper right for vertical viewers, is Decontrol's ship. It is the engine to his space train, right? So he flies a space train. That space train gives him an advantage of more cargo, being able to pull more larger amounts of material for him to make more money, right? Does it always work out that way? No. course not. Whether for serious or comedic reasons, maybe we can get into that. So there's parts of his ship that I obviously sort of missed, but I had the right idea, right? When I originally drew it in. And I don't want to leave it these basic shapes, because that's not quite what I drew. Similar to the pirate ship that I was playing around with before, which was a Copic colored drawing that I made of a small fighter ship. This instead, the control ship, was done on my iPad. I think in either in a fresco or in notes. I switch between the two frequently. But if we look at what I have here, I have parts of the ship that represents, mechanical housing or parts that help it propel, move forward, that give it power. And this whole side view that's here on the right is actually just the engine, right? Which has some cargo capacity, but is the main housing for the habitat area, for kitchen, living quarters, and so forth, and command areas. Cockpit in the very, very front. And I want to add in the additional shapes that is sort of missing in the drawing on the page here. I have a little bit more of a, I guess, flanged, sort of flared out bottom, looking at the front view or the 3/4 view. Let's see, what else? Yeah, there's just some details in here that I'm kind of missing, right? I don't have a little drawing of a person to get a sense of scale. Maybe I do in there somewhere and I don't remember. But let's go back to the drawing. Okay. If you're watching vertical, and it's kind of hard to see the picture up in the upper right corner, but I want to add in, or I want to go ahead and add in just that little bit of detail on these. What I've drawn in were simple trapezoidal type of shapes to start with, and housing areas for where there's sort of anti-gravity components, engine parts. Over on the colored concept on the left image there, I do have some chunks and bits here in the front. On the back, I'm going to go ahead and use a straight edge. Let's keep this as clean as possible. This is hard surface mechanical stuff, so although on some areas of my page I may be a little bit loose and freehand those straight edges, there are parts where I want to strictly just use a good straight edge. Let me get my reference back up that I can see better. There we go. It's a little bit of a sloped housing area here. What's inside of that area, I couldn't really tell you. Some of this is made up. But I hope I can do more with it. What I do like is the sort of pattern on the digital version. I'm going to zoom in and do a focus check on the camera. anytime I make an adjustment to the camera, I'll do my best to double check the focus. And if you'd like to know, I am using Streamlabs to stream everything today. So I'm using the configuration window for the camera settings and applying that, but I'm going to leave that open because I'm constantly adjusting the focus. Autofocus won't work for me as it's always going up and down, back and forth on its own because my lighting isn't the best. Alright, let's just leave it there. This top half, or top third, sort of opens up a little bit. Down here are mostly engine, anti-grav components, thrusters, and stuff like that. There's an actual engine up here. I had them up here, and then I had one sticking out here at one point, so I may need to draw something like that in. It doesn't quite make sense yet. Up here where my pencil tip is where the cockpit is. It's sort of inside this visor area. I don't know why, but I really like the visor front viewport design as the use for mine. And you can see it better in the digital drawing to the left. For the side profile, it's there as well. Here in the front would open for cargo housing and also adding in other smaller vehicles. So front cargo, hab, personal and command area. Everything else is engine and other equipment. This is a space worthy ship, not necessarily a atmospheric ship, right? It can lift off the ground and get up to space, but flying it in atmosphere is like trying to drive, a bus through a pool of mud or something, and it's just, maybe you can trudge through, but it's going to run down the engine and everything, and it's going to start breaking down. It's too heavy. It's too much. Now, originally this vehicle was a train, so if it was on a track and it's got the proper anti-grav equipment, which are these bottom areas, and sort of like technology that we see examples of today, if it's sort of magnetized or something to where it's sort of floating above the track, that's sort of the mechanism that's in play here for the train engine and the rest of the cars. Right? Decontrol, or somebody at some point, converted all that equipment so that it could lift up to space and haul cargo to further destinations, not just in inner cities or around the globe. And it gives me an opportunity to play with more story elements, background elements for the character. Has nothing to do with the video game that's inspired me to do it, but there will be hopefully Easter eggs and things to help sort of promote it. Now I'm gonna start doing more drawing and less talking, I promise. But I do need to start my videos off with a little bit of explaining and sharing. Let me get my scrap paper down. So I don't smudge any of the graphite. something like this, but there's a cut going across, and that cut is sort of like a seam. Now this pattern repeats on all the cars, right? We'll say in reality, looking at this, it would be rusty, it would be dirty, um, spray painted, it's tagged, everything. A sort of seam here, and then we'll leave it with whether the little components and stuff that I have drawn in. These are straight edges, so I may need to use the straight edge. I need an ellipse to get these curves in. I'll go ahead and freehand this part. Let me sharpen my pencil. And let's go. I should have pulled the camera back further. But using my T-square as a horizontal straight edge to run across the cars, a sort of edge or seam. Oops, I really should have erased those top parts. That's okay. That represents sort of the opening area, right? Imagine here is where you control the ship in this area, but back here, back in this area, including this area here, is more of living quarters. But you're able to open up these areas, right? And this is sort of more personnel, like a garage maybe, and before all the mechanical stuff. And of course this goes, there's an area up front that goes down to personnel cargo, like a ground vehicle, personnel crates and stuff like that. Stuff related to up here. Everything here is to make the ship move, and for the cars here, there is thruster equipment, but it's mostly cargo. So it's sort of the same template for all. I'll figure out a caboose another time. Because what's a train without a caboose? I'm going to go through and clean up these top shapes. think I need to draw in like some antennas. One thing I need to keep in mind that I do have a black field here. So another reason why I'm not worried about, you know, tiny detail outside of it. It's just going to get filled in. This is going to be shrunk down to where you can view this page on an iPad more clearly. The next page we'll set up for iPhone. And notice on the, you know, I wonder if I need to go and make this. I see here. Notice my shapes here, being trapezoidal, are a little bit different. Than the original concept, which is a rectangle or just a straight up box. Angle's a little off, that's okay. So when I ink, I'm just going to do the outline with a thick liner, and then use a thinner liner for any inside detail, which not all this is probably drawn in, just the larger shape areas. Can always change it up for next time. But I do need to find some consistency. Flexibility is okay, but we need to find a good home for the idea. Some of these shapes aren't quite lining up very well. That's okay. And yeah, because I have more of a straight edge Let's do... I'm just going to draw a couple of lines here. I am just kind of talking out loud a little bit. Maybe instead of, so I originally had a caption box running down here, and I thought maybe that caption box would be I may need to, let's do a focus check. Caption box would run down here, and I debated whether I would put this down here underneath his ship, which actually could still work. I could actually probably still do it. Because this seems sort of squinched in, right? And I have his character drawn in here, the caption panel here. But if I move this over here, then I have some space here, pun intended, for me to draw back in the space station that I had there. I had some stuff in the background, not much. Maybe I can put simple shapes in here that would represent you know, cosmic bodies, the planets, moons, space station, maybe a couple of ships or something, sprayed white on the rest of the black field. So for the heck of it, I'm going to rule in the caption box, and if I decide not to do it, I'm just going to cover it up with ink. I'm going to make sure my pencil is in the same angle at all times. I'm going to roll my pencil a little bit so it doesn't produce, you know, just a flat area on the tip of my pencil. So I roll a little bit, keeping the same angle going all the way across. And let me get rid of this, and let's throw in a couple of lettering guidelines, because those are fun. I actually had fun yesterday. Yesterday was, it may seem like a chore to use the Ames lettering guide, but I have a lot of fun with it. Lettering guide is right here. Let's line up. It should be set to... looks like it got... Ooh. You know what? I wonder if I did some of these yesterday with it off a little bit. It's supposed to be set to 6. I'll go 5.5. Nope, I'll go back to 6 and keep it the same. Okay. For when I just looked at it or just checked, it was set like at 6.5. Okay. Ugh. Trying to get it right. Just right. There we go. You know I gotta make sound effects every time I do stuff like that. I'm gonna line up, I'm using this column here, and I'm gonna line up my top hole for the top caption box border, and I'm gonna run the top line for text. I'm gonna skip this hole because that's for lowercase. I'm gonna run the next hole. I'm gonna go to the next hole. Oop, look at that. I really don't even have room for 2 lines of text. That's too bad. But will that whole description fit there? Let's try it out. It won't take long to write it out. Maybe I could have moved that word over a little bit. Decontrol is a hardened half-life, and I use that term loosely because he's a video game character, so he dies and respawns, dies again. For some reason, he dies a lot in the video game. It's, yeah, skill issue. I could remove that and say harden space industrialist. Yeah, there's not enough room for all that. Unless I overlap with him. While I'm at it, it won't hurt to kind of sketch it out a little, see what happens. I have to use the term space. I need to use the term, or similar to it, you know, industrialist. It's what's, you know, what I use to describe his play loops in the game. If I jump over here, I could break out the caption box beyond the panel border going into the gutter. What if I took out hardened space industrialist? It still doesn't have enough room for this. Excuse me. Sorry about that. If I had an eraser shield, this would be a lot easier to erase. And I'll need to rethink this beginning description here, but we'll start off with this. And I'm still gambling a little bit on my font or my lettering size being a little bit larger than normal. Since this will be sort of made for mobile devices. I wrote that out really quick and kind of messy. It would go out to his beard. Decisions. It would fit in here, but I don't want to squeeze it in there. Having it here means I would need to maybe adjust my panel border. Or extend out my panel. Right there. I draw a light line there. And then go ahead and continue this bottom edge that was started. I'm going to extend that out. Baby steps until I decide I'll stick with it or I'll back off. That's right there. All right, making a decision to go ahead and extend out this caption panel because I would like to have this text down here closer to the center of the screen versus very close to the top edge where it could be cut off. And I don't think it's too big of a deal. Lesson learned though, to have, stay there, triangle, I'm not done with you. Or piece of paper, I'm not done with you. Don't go away. Yeah, lesson learned to triple, quadruple check placement of things. And work with the full, the actual composition of your page a little bit. you know, whether you're using thumbnails or something. Thumbnails are a great way to start, but once you get into this actual script and working in the wording, unless you know the size of the wording and your caption boxes, dialogue boxes, and everything else to include in the thumbnail, you still need to sketch out ideas for composition, you know, as you go along, to try to cut back on a lot of erasing and correcting and stuff like that. So this is my sandbox of a first page, and I like where I did put in that caption box for now, but I do need to I'm just going to write this in. I may erase it and actually rewrite it out cleaner, so I have a better template to use for inking. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to go ahead and use my eraser pillow to start with. Which probably needs to be replaced here soon. And I apologize for the bumping noise. And as I explained before, sometimes we see more smudging than anything. We still need to go through and clean up that smudging. In this case, I'm not worried about it. This is a star field, so it's going to be all black. My only concern is wear and tear of the paper fibers. And this is sturdy Strathmore bristle board, but it'll give up at some point. Alright, so I've cleaned that up. You can still even see some sort of little bit of texture to the paper, but I do need to use a hard eraser to clean up this area, because and you can see what I mean. So I'm still removing graphite here, and that's okay. Like I said, it's going to be covered up. I had a space station back here. I'm going to zoom in. Focus check. Everything looks good. Had a space station drawn out in the background, resembling a more retro design that's still, I guess, relevant these days, and how you would design a space station, I guess, with rings to help simulate gravity. Would something like that work here? Maybe not quite in that position. I originally had it back here, but a lot smaller. It's going to be really, really, really light at first and very hard to see. I just want to kind of sketch it out a little bit, get an idea, and maybe the sort of last thing I do. Because now that I have a little bit of extra space over here to play with, I let that sort of sit in the back of my head while I go through, because I want to figure out how I want to use that space. And while I kind of think about that, I'm going to go through, make sure I have what I need for the next panel. I've already gone through and sort of fixed his fingers. His fingers were too long. So I can go through and basically line all this out. I have some shaded areas. I did not stick with full shading everything, but I have shaded areas and an idea where I want my gray and an idea where I want more solid black. Lettering is in. This is internal dialogue, so this is going to be a enclosed caption box. This is where I'm going to rely more on gray tone than black and white. I need to play around where I have his weapon right here, but I have this sort of panels drawn, his control panels drawn out. I need to fix this area up here, I guess, because I spent time over here not realizing I was going to need this upper area, because I had this area designated for lettering. I made some changes and covered all this up. So there was time and work put into drawing stuff over here, only to erase it and cover it up with this caption box. No problem, just part of the steps. I have a really dirty panel here because I've drawn in a lot of sort of action lines and a circular motion centered around this light or this button with a robotic announcement going off in the background for a sort of onomatopoeia that says warning, 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 and the character decontrol is shouting out bug instead of using an actual curse word. More onomatopoeia on the side that's just beep, loud beeps or burrs, burr, burr, burr. And then down here we'll add in my missing panel. I do have a missing caption box right here, and I even sort of kind of sketched it in and completely forgot about it as I was doing all the lettering yesterday. So yesterday's stream was lettering for caption boxes, dialogue boxes, and this one here is going to be a caption box, or I'm sorry, a dialogue box that's a robotic announcement of this. It's just a continuation of this because it needs to say he's being pulled out of his hyperspace travel, right? He's currently flying a ship en route to a destination to drop off cargo when he's being halted and pirated. And that's where we leave off the panel. or leave off the page for the strip, which is more of a column and less of a strip. So we're going to go through and add in that caption box next. And I did not do a lot of work. I usually do some work offline, but I spent more time doing video stuff, which is part of the juggle. But I hope what I'm doing now helps me make some cooler videos later to put up on YouTube and to post everywhere else. I need my T-square horizontal straight edge to help. Let's zoom in here. I may need to do a focus check to start setting up for lettering. Focus check, focus check. Let's do that. My view is a little bit smaller than a full screen. What viewers are watching full screen right now, but hopefully this works. If for any reason it's hard to see or music is too loud in the background, or if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in chat, or you're more than welcome, just hang out. Okay. Ames lettering guide. I told you I really like using the lettering guide. I'm going to line up my top edge with the top of this caption box here. And just because it's handy, I'm going to go ahead and use the lettering guide over here for my left edge. But you know what? This is where symmetry kicks in. And I want the spacing here on this left side to be similar to the spacing over here on this right side, because you know it's going to throw somebody off. Usually me. There's more space on this side than that side. It's not right. Okay, let's erase some of this out. Clean it up. Because I don't have a lot of space to play with for writing. And all this is the robotic announcement announcing his hyperspace travel has been halted or canceled. No, wait. It says error. What's the worst thing to happen when you're in the middle of playing a video game? It errors out, you get an error code, and then you have to restart. Let's draw in some guidelines and see how we can work with this. Let's make sure we're still on 6. For number 6 for the leading, we're lined up on the top edge. Adding in our space, skipping the lowercase, going to the bottom line, going to the next top, skipping the lowercase, getting the bottom edge, going to the next line, skipping the lowercase, going to the bottom. I would like to see his mohawk overlapping the lettering and the caption box, which may be breaking some rules, but this is my comic page, so I'm going to adjust that a little bit because I want that to sort of stand out. It's sort of iconic to him for the character in the game. I'm going to line up the guide to make a couple of extra rows, and I need to go, need to make space here. What should be next is space for the leading. Whoops, sorry about that. I think this is right. This is where I usually sort of not pay attention and make a mistake. Oi. Broke the pencil tip. Fuck. Okay. That's a good stop right there. Alright, if you're not listening to the Misfits right now, it being so close to Halloween, you may want to correct that. Alright, I think we're done with the lettering guide for today. Right? Yeah? Oh, maybe over here in the final panel, but not worried about that. Or in the final to be continued. I wonder if I should have done the same sort of... no. How are we doing on viewing? It still looks pretty clear. Maybe a little bit light, hard to see. We'll get to inking soon enough. Hyperspeed canceled. Okay, I needed to mute and sing out loud there for a minute. I wrote down what it says down here for the to be continued caption panel, and we're going to go ahead and do that one. Get that out of the way. Probably need to do this upside down. It's too close to the bottom. So I'll just need to keep in mind that to start off with the bottom or the top. Table's so wobbly. I'll fix it one of these days. So if that is actually, that top hole is actually the bottom of the ratio set there. So I need to go or I see what, okay. Need to go easy with my pencil edge here. I'm only going to get 2 lines in here. Wait a minute. How did that happen? This would actually be the bottom. Ooh, sorry about that. That was probably loud. One thing I cannot do is write upside down. Is the focus still okay? Okay. Let me move this up. It's just too close to the bottom. I thought I wrote that out. Was it different? Let's do this upside down. This is too low. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place here. I'm just going to shoot it across. There we go. I need to change out my earbud real quick. Streaming an hour and a half, recording for a little over an hour. Slow and go, but so far so good. You won't guess what happens next. Dot dot dot. Till next time. I think I just changed the angle. Uh-oh. Till next time. Oh my god, it's gotta be a tight squeeze. Once we get a couple of these pages, some fan art, and some other studies, next, after doing a little bit of sci-fi, we'll be jumping into horror. So I was supposed to go through, work on these ships offline a little bit, and a couple other little areas, but I did not get a chance to do that. That's okay. Alright, an hour and a half in. Let me just kind of stretch a little bit. Alright, I think what we'll do... Okay, I'm gonna take a really quick restroom break. I will be right back. You should still be able to hear the metal in the background. I will keep up my Spotify music so you can see what I have playing in my ear. Be right back, guys. Give me just a couple minutes. Okay, just gonna take a moment and check my streams. I hope it's okay that I have the little display of my Spotify just to show. We'll see what happens. If I get dinged for it, then I get dinged for it. Cool. Thanks for hanging out, hanging in there for me. We're about to jump right back in. Everything is still going. My Twitch, I had to refresh there. Oops, excuse me. Meant to mute my mic before I cough. What's that image? Okay. Why not? We'll plop them down here. Just went to go pet my cat on the way back to the seat. His name is Kaiser. He is so fluffy. He's a good boy. He really is. Alright, he's meow 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 meow. Psst, 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 psst. It's coming to get you. Here, I'll put him in the upper corner. Opposite of me. Here you go. Alright, let's get back to it. Just looking over everything. Was considering one of my ideas for up here in the title was to draw one or two other ships flying above his cargo ship. And I had changed my mind since then. I may go back to it. What I'm doing right now is drawing out a space just beneath his vehicle, his ship, starting going all the way across, and this is going to represent an energy trail that's left behind from his ship. Showing, you know, a bit of intensity where there's space in between the two cars, and there is this energetic connection there that keeps everything connected, but also keeps things sort of powered if it needs to be. One thing I did not do this morning is a study warm-up, which I've sort of neglected this week, because I did want to put a lot of focus into this comic page. There's a lot to balance out. I still need to put some focus into drawing and to sort of stretch out a little bit. And when I do, it sort of helps loosen things up throughout the day. But one of those exercises is sort of scribbling in a little bit. And I may spend a little bit of time during a stream just scribbling in the dark areas and shading that in, because I really want to see the contrast, and it helps me sort of lock in with what I've created. And when I may go through and sort of shade in large areas of where it's going to be solid black. I know it's going to be covered up with ink. That graphite sometimes affects the ink a little bit if it's the wrong paper or something, but I typically use my eraser pillow to kind of take some of the graphite off the paper before I put any ink down. But I bet the pencil sounds kind of cool. And what am I going to do when that dark area reaches the character drawing? Do I go all the way to the edge? Do I leave, some sort of highlight, rim light around it? He's wearing, a little bit of armor. Oops, my mic may be covered up. Here, let me turn that. You ever get into an art block or a creative block? Sometimes what I like to do to sort of break that up is just scribble in some areas. Maybe fill in some shapes with some color. Draw some abstract things, scribble and doodle. Until your brain says, stop, you're not supposed to do it like that, do it this way. And you're like, oh, okay, I got work to do now. But I do like to add in, the gray areas to help bring in, create the contrast to bring the art out more. It means I'm not gonna, I don't want to erase anything else around it or in that area. I want to keep it the way it is. When I ink it, it'll be a lot cleaner and ruled out and so forth. Okay. Just to help me sort of see my introduction. And then going through and considering, focus check, all the detail in the back here. And if that's the case, I might as well just start in the corner here and work my way out, not to fill in, but to make sure I got my negative shapes drawn in and defined, so that those can be filled in with ink. Boy, I have to do this here. I need to work on that. I don't mind starting off with hand-drawn lettering, and if I need to get to the point where I want a cleaner edge, stuff like that, the spacing in between here is probably not going to work, so I may need to thicken things up a little bit or kind of fix it up, but the spacing in between here is not right. So that leaves, oops, that leaves, spacing in here to be adjusted as well. That I'm not prepared to tackle at the moment. So what I'll do is, what I'll leave for offline, or maybe I'll just record it separately, is drawing that in, because I need to go through and erase it all out. And I would much rather spend the stream time, speaking of time, the stream time wrapping up any of the other artwork. And that was this panel here, the ships, that's we're going to be offline, and that's it. So yeah, I am just kind of going around. Now that I have wording in, I can clean up the areas around the caption box borders. Okay, just checking my time. We'll draw in some of the pirate ships attacking his train ship up here. Just a couple of ships. We don't want it to be too busy. Scale down, it'll look too messy. But to kind of break up the field of just black space. let's change up the pirate ship a little bit. not, not that I have to erase stuff. I'm gonna add some spikes to the ship. It just wasn't looking mean enough. So when I go through an outline, we'll have some spiky areas to add. Oops, that's probably not quite. And keep this middle line needs to go. Where is this? Like a flying blowfish. Alright. The reason I jumped from working on these panels here is just because it just kind of struck me as, well, you know, why not have a little scene going on here? And then I drew in the shapes for the ships. Can put just a random character EVAing in space, extra vehicular activity. We'll continue our paneling. Did I go down too far here? Yep. So I don't want this to get too messy. All these little circles, squares, panels, ellipses, crescents, whatever. When scaled down, I try to stay aware of what those look like at scale down to the size when it's shared. Some of these little shapes are going to disappear. Some may stand out more than I realized, or more than I intended. So I'm just updating my music here real quick. Let's see, how are we doing on camera angle? Do I have... I want to make sure I don't have it drawn somewhere else and it looks different. Yeah, I'm curious to see how much of this little bit of detail gets lost when scaled down. So I'll take a picture a little bit later, check it on my phone. But unfortunately, without it being inked, it's still really kind of hard to tell. Because the pencil's so messy on this. Hi, Olive. Hope you can hear me okay. I've been quiet for a little while. Hello there. What is Ryan Otley? Cool, thank you. But hopefully the music in the background's not too loud. Okay. Little subtle details here and there. And like I was saying before, when this gets scaled down, some of this stuff will be lost. So I'm curious to see what happens. Alright, how am I doing on time here? Cool. If you're here to hang out and just lurk, welcome. If you are here and you have any questions or comments or criticisms, they're totally welcome, but I like to stay on topic to the artwork when as much as possible. And if you're just joining me, you're watching me illustrate a comic book page for a comic book strip, this being the very first page that I've been illustrating this week and this past week, and just little bits at a time. But we're very close to the end of where we want to be before we start inking with India ink. Oh, cool. Olive, you're making your own stuff too. That's fantastic. So you're making your own comic book and you're really trying to make it the Ryan Otley style. Okay, I will look it up. Is Ryan Otley does he happen to, do they happen to be maybe like a Marvel artist or a DC artist? Just out of curiosity, I'll definitely remember to look him up. I don't forget those things. And plus, it's in the chat. Oh, the Invincible artist. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, yes. Now I know who you're talking about. The rock I live under is quite huge, but I can see through it sometimes and recognize some of the pop culture. Now, does Ryan Otley work with any of the animation towards the Amazon series that was developed for that, or does he just strictly do the comic book illustrations? That I don't know, but I do recognize the name now. I may have smudged my pencil here a little bit to the point where my little Funyuns bag is not not there anymore. I'll definitely find out. Alright, so a little bit more details here. Well, thanks for stopping by, Olive. I really appreciate you hanging out. We'll get to the point where I'll chat a little bit. Sometimes I'm quiet as I'm drawing. And if you're new around here, just about everyone popping in is going to be new. But if you're new around here, I will illustrate with graphite, or I'll pull out my digital devices and work on the iPad for a little bit. We'll color. I'm sort of a multimedia artist, but I do like to work with comic books, comic book style art. I love horror, fantasy, science fiction, and that's what the channel's focus is going to be on. My stream is basically an open studio for viewers to come in, hang out with me, and more than welcome to chat it up and ask me questions. More than welcome to give me feedback on stuff, whatever it is. There isn't, is there? I will say that you're not, maybe you may not have the very first idea of a supervillain kind of comic, because you had like Apocalypse and stuff like that, sort of having the X-Men character, a villain character, having his own series, right? But the development, maybe if you focused on the development and the background and the time it took to create such evil and why they become such a villain, I would be a big fan of that. And the first thing that pops up in my head visually is, artwork that has a lot of detail, a lot of inking, a lot of hatching and stuff like that. Just really dark and gritty. But that's just what I think, right? If you have any artwork, stuff like that, and if you stream or anything like that, maybe I'll check you out. I'm not sure if anyone that stops by or just viewers, or if they like to stream themselves. Let's see here, just a little bit here, I guess. I kind of got myself in the corner where what exactly I'm going to do at this spot. That's not super important. We'll put some random angles and circles in there. That is a very good question, actually. I'm currently streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick, and I'm not sure. Look, you're over on Twitch right now. I'm kind of a new streamer, to be honest with you. I'm not too familiar with if there's the availability of sending me an image. I know sometimes streamers can turn on and off the ability for viewers to do that. I may need to set up, let's see, I have my own Discord and things like that, but I don't have it set up for public use. I'll have to think about that, Olive. I really want to, I'm happy to look at other people's artwork as well. I know I'm kind of trying to put myself at the center of attention here, but when folks come in, especially if they're other artists, they want to share something, or if they need feedback on something, man, I'm super happy to help out. Just on a side note, I do instructional work. So I work with a private school, or I used to work with a private school. My kids go there to that private school, and I used to teach art there for a while, and then I stopped and then started focusing on things like this. But I still, can do things with the school. So I like to teach, and so I like to give feedback and not really teach or tell people what to do, but that helps me give people good constructive feedback on things if they ever need it or if they ever want it. Not everybody wants it. But I do need to come up with a way for people to share their artwork with me. Maybe Discord is going to have to be it. Alright, I think I have enough, just a little bit of detail drawn in here. When I started off this panel, originally it was a bit, it's still kind of cartoony. And the style that I've created here, and I'll back out on the camera, I may need to focus. Check real quick. Hopefully my cat's not in the way. Then you go to let's do a focus check. That's probably good. The style that will come out of this that I've drawn out so far is a little bit cartoony to me, and it's so smudged. The pencil's so smudged. It's hard to see some of that detail. And I promise a lot of that smudge is actually a little bit of shading for when I go in for inking. Focus check. Let's try that. Hey, thank you, Olive. I really appreciate it. This is, since you're familiar with comics, sorry for the random noises, but since you're familiar with comic books, you're familiar with a newspaper comic book strip. This is a character that is actually a video game character that I play in the game Star Citizen, and the group and I that play together, well, I considered making a comic book of my gaming character as a sort of comedic nod to the game, but at the same time more serious about the idea of creating a pulp cyberpunk science fiction comic book that I'm really happy to draw and passionate about creating. So this is the very first comic strip that I'm doing. I'm penciling it, inking it. It'll be in black and white, and then hopefully I can do a couple more pages after this. But with Halloween creeping up, I need to back off of science fiction stuff and start doing some horror stuff. Maybe some horror and a little bit of fantasy. But with Halloween coming up very, very quickly, I'm itching to get into some spooky business. Okay. I've drawn in some more of the cockpit command panels, buttons, switches, dials that are more analog than, touchscreen style. There's going to be a sense of retro sort of futurism I'm hoping to sort of draw in as I go. But all of my comic book elements are there. From drawn in, sketched in, from my title panel to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels of story. The only thing that's not considered sort of, well, there's a lot that's really considered not a sort of finished comic book penciled page, is I don't have a lot of good shading that's going to show you now or translate now what that's supposed to look like. But our title page or title panel will have a star field and ships flying about. I have our caption boxes drawn in with the lettering. I could go ahead and start inking those. I may not have all the hatching and shading in areas that I want it, but that'll develop out as I ink. I am cutting a lot of corners here, so I apologize if this is not quite the proper process. It's gonna be dirty, but I'm gonna love it. Caption boxes, dialog boxes here. Alright. Let's see how much time I got left. It's 2:30 my time. I got a little bit of time left. I guess I'll take a few minutes and maybe draw in. See, there was a big change here that I did earlier. But my offline stuff will be to finish these ships down here in the last panel. This panel is pretty much done. I may need to kind of clean up or define areas so I can see them. Yeah. So my two panels of concern are my title panel with some unfinished business up here, and my ship, or my final panel here, and the ships. So I'm going to sketch the title itself. I have a reference illustration on the screen. It's the digital color illustration with the title, Mission Decontrol, which was just a quick mock-up because that's what I envisioned was the word mission and not army lettering, but just big blocky lettering, or maybe a little bit more narrow with the word decontrol in a stressed style, stressed or distorted style, overlapping the front of the word mission. The mock-up that I have in the color drawing was done in either Adobe Fresco or Sketchbook, and I just used Adobe to throw in the title lettering. If you look carefully, it's very generic or basic font style. I think it's like Flood and Ari or something, Arial or something like that. So I need to redraw decontrol. The mission is okay because it's just blocky lettering, but decontrol needs to be a little bit more stylized and unique. I noted earlier that my spacing here is off. Yes, Olive, please. That would really help me out. That's not something I really considered, and I should have. When I'm done here, I'm probably going to go for maybe another maybe another 15 minutes. And then I need to stop and work on video stuff before doing in real life stuff. So my schedule today is probably a little bit longer because I've been streaming for 2.5 hours. And then I will come look for you on TikTok. I won't forget, that's for sure. I need to adjust this S to fit over here. I'm just going to erase all of this, and I'll draw it out, space it back out. And if by the end of my stream I don't have things done, that's okay. I know I'll be working on stuff tonight. You should be able to find Calderone.art. It's either Calderone.art or Calderone.art. Looks like it's Calderone. Oh, my user is at Calderone.art, but my display is Calderone.art. I'm making sure because some of my profiles may have a hyphen or an underscore or something. Yeah, it's just at Calderone.art. There may be enough data online of me, enough of a footprint of Calderone.art or Calderone.art that if it would, it was Googled, it would find my webpage and what other socials. But yeah, I'm here to stream my art butt off. My plan is, yes, to monetize a little bit at some point over time. But I will be focusing on YouTube, streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, sometimes X, and it's Instagram. I will start streaming on TikTok, so I will be multi-streaming like I'm doing now, but to more places. Just want to reach folks and have fun with the art. Promote this, commissions, promote other stuff going on, and just have fun with it. Link up with the other artists, help each other out. Let's see. I'm now at this stage where I'm afraid to touch my paper because it's so smudged. I may need to tape down my scrap paper. Oh, cool. Thank you. Is that over on TikTok? There you are. Yeah. There you go. Nice. Heck yeah, well done. Keep going. Yeah, everything's looking really, really good. What is Olive? What is your goal for what you sent me? Is that a sketch? Maybe just a quick concept, or is that going to turn into a bigger piece? What do you plan on doing with that specific piece? I know you plan on doing the comic book, but what about that specifically? Just out of curiosity. Well, heck yeah, man. Hey, real quick, don't forget to sign it and get that art out there, man. I think it's totally cool if you want to send out, you know, whether it's finished or whether it's a work in progress, if you haven't put it out there. If you're up for that. Not everyone likes to post their artwork. Or they want to get to a certain point before it's posted. There. Okay, adjusted that spacing very quickly and roughly. And I'm afraid the lettering for the decontrol part is too small. And at some point tonight, I'll go ahead and take a photo of this page as flat as I can. And then see how it looks on iPad screen. So this should be more formatted for iPad. And then the next page that I'll do for this would be more formatted for iPhone. Okay, just sketching out, sorry if that was off screen, but all I'm doing is just kind of sketching out, considered a spray paint sort of look. Oh, so it is a work in progress? Got it. Olive, I like where it's going so far. If it's a work in progress, I can see it, you know, I can see where, you know, if you want to put, you know, additional detail on the suit or anything like that, but it's looking great so far. Heck yeah. I'd love to hear more about it. And I know it's an original character and stuff, and you, but yeah, man, anything you ever want to share and talk about, feel free to just let me know. Even coming here on the stream and talking about just this project sort of has me a little bit queasy, because it's like just a little bit nervous, because it's like, well, it's an idea that I came up with. Other people help out and or sort of involved in a way. It's concerning things that are a little bit controversial, but have to do with, you know, gaming and other media and stuff. So it's, you know, it's definitely got me on edge a little bit, but I want to get it out there and have fun with it. Okay. So some pirate ships here in the title panel, and we'll put one more. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to sketch it in. I'm not going to go through, clean it up, and illustrate cleaner edges, or render out cleaner edges. And as far as the space station in the background, that I had originally in there, and then I erased and put in the caption box, and then erase that, put the caption box down here, and then sketched in the space station again. I think I'm just going to take it back out. I'll leave my dude out in EVA. Maybe something in this space here. But I'm going to go ahead and clean up this area, which is all just going to be all black anyway, with the exception of any characters and vehicles in the space. And I just don't think drawing a tiny little space station in the background is gonna work out. Unless I drew it bigger and taking up more space, or more area of that negative space. So I'll think about that. But my goal is to work on more offline and continue tomorrow with some inking. So I do need to get to where I'm drawing this out, and I need to stop sort of pussyfooting about with the page. But I have everything in that I need, and at a point where I can go ahead and just start outlining stuff. As far as how many streams that's going to take, it depends on how long I go at a time. But I'll keep this title panel field open and consider during that off time what to put in that area. And finish up those ships down there, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go for a couple more minutes. So you're making the side character. He is a humanoid octopus alien guy that helps ruffle on his villain stuff. Now, when you say ruffle on his villain stuff, are you implying that the humanoid octopus alien guy is a little bit more of the protagonist, or more of a good guy versus the villain? Or does he just sort of get in the way and fumbles the job, so to speak? Or maybe he's a more effective right-hand man. I'm thinking maybe I can put one of the cargo cars here, as if the pirates are blasting or shooting towards it. Alright, now think of maybe having a car, maybe two of the cargo cars are sort of scattered here. Making sure I'm not smudging my pencil here any more than I already have. Get it a little bit closer. So all I'm doing now is just kind of sketching in where one of the cargo cars is separated off and pirate ships are shooting at the ship. So I thought maybe a little scene going on in the background here and then filling in the rest with black. So I'll consider continuing that. Okay. Oof, we're getting there. The stream today was just almost 3 hours. I do need to call it a day for the stream. I am going to be working on this a little bit offline. It's going to be real hard to see right now, and I've kind of made the top panel lettering really messy at the moment. We'll go through and clean up the decontrol overlapping mission. And tomorrow my goal is to start inking. Whether I go through and just get in some bordering and outlining, anything to start off tomorrow. So hopefully I get a lot done offline later on this evening. Sweet. I'll keep it there for a moment. All right. And for the rest of you guys hanging out in chat, I really appreciate you hanging out, stopping by, chatting. And I look forward to linking it up with anyone that wants to hook up and share their stuff, or anyone that has any questions on what I do and or needs any help with whatever they're doing. I'll go through and clean up some of my stuff here a little bit. But you can find me over on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, Instagram, TikTok, X. Did I say X already? X. I'm over on Blue Sky, but Blue Sky did have a censorship thing on my figure studies. One of the figure studies was wearing a skin-colored leotard or something like that, and it looked like they were naked, but they were totally not naked. And it censored my video and sort of locked it down, so I waited about 2 months before that was lifted. But I think I'm starting to post on Blue Sky here soon again. Threads, just a copy of Instagram, so it gets those things. I'm on Facebook, all under at Calderone.art, or it could be Calderone_art. I think Instagram is the only platform that has an underscore in it. Everything else should be at Calderone.art. Everything business related, like my website, Calderone.art.com. And of course I'm on like Coffee, and there's Streamlabs and all that stuff. All in time, I'll be promoting that little bits here and there. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call it for today. Thank you very much. I'm super happy with where we're at right now. Let's get Mission Decontrol wrapped up and pushed out for everyone to see. And then we'll move on to all the other stuff. I know I have many things on my plate right now I need to take care of, including the Wolverine fan art that we did, that we started off with a couple of weeks ago, I believe. I was looking at that video the other day. Other than that, yeah, there's lots of bits and pieces I need to work on and get wrapped up, including continuing our figure studies using references that we find online, good photographic references. And I'll be sharing those as I do those. So I think I'll just wait until next week before going back to figure studies, before doing the bigger project for the stream. Cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. welcome to my show. Other than that, I will be back online. I'll probably have the same setup and everything else. Maybe it's going to be some vaporwave or something instead of metal. But I'll be listening to music and continuing on with the page. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Olive. I really appreciate it. Olive, if you're still there, yes, I'm going to go ahead and go now if that's okay, if you don't mind. I do have some other stuff I need to attend to. I need to pick kids up from school and so forth. I'm going to look through your stuff a little bit this evening as I go online and do my doom scrolling online before bed. So I'll be looking you up, and hopefully I can see more of your stuff on there. But thank you for stopping by, Olive, and anyone else that's out there. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and go now. So I'm going to salute everyone. Have a good rest of your afternoon. I will see you tomorrow for sure. Take care.